I was halfway through my steak, medium rare, just the way I liked it, when she sat down across from me. No reservation, no hello, just a quiet, deliberate sentence, spoken with a gentle smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Keep eating," she said, "or I'll have to make a scene." She smiled like an old friend catching up, but her gaze was anything but friendly. It was sharp, clinical, dissecting me as if I were the one under the microscope. Still, it wasn't the strangest thing about the evening. The strangest thing was that I wasn't surprised. Not after the kind of day I'd had. Not after the hours of silence from the people who had promised me something special. My wife, my children, all those whispers and coy smiles over the past few weeks. "We got something special for you this year," they had teased. I'd envisioned a surprise party, maybe a dinner with heartfelt laughter and warm embraces. I imagined candles, toasts, and the kind of intimacy only family could provide. Instead, I sat alone in a restaurant I had reserved myself, not wanting to seem pathetic. I kept glancing at my phone, refreshing it over and over, waiting for message to call that we're on our way. But nothing came, not a single text, not even a missed call. And then she appeared. And suddenly, everything fell into place. 20 years. That's how long I had given them. My wife, my children, 2 decades of sacrifice, devotion, building something from the soil up. I created a business, a home, a legacy. I provided safety, stability, affection. She had been a school teacher when we met, bright-eyed, warm-hearted, someone I believe truly saw me beyond the numbers, beyond the title. She once said she loved how grounded I was, how I never needed the spotlight. Turns out, she loved how easy I was to use. As for the children, I raised them with values, truth, loyalty, gratitude. But I learned too late. Loyalty isn't inherited. It's tested, and they fail with flying colors. The first warning sign came last November. I'd returned early from a conference due to a weather cancellation. I didn't tell anyone. Thought it would be a pleasant surprise. But when I pulled into the driveway, there was a car I didn't recognize. A sleek black Jaguar, luxury on wheels. Flashy, arrogant, unforgettable. Inside the house, laughter and music spilled through the walls. I opened the door quietly and stepped in unnoticed. Then I heard her voice, my wife's voice, carrying clearly from the kitchen. "He believes everything." Honestly, it's pathetic. I froze. On the stairs, my son stood laughing with someone out of sight. On the couch, my daughter raised a glass, smiling. I didn't say a word. I didn't confront them. I walked out just as quietly as I had entered. The very next day, I began documenting everything. For 6 months, I became invisible, a ghost in my own life. I hired a private investigator, installed surveillance at the lake house, the one they thought I'd sold years ago. I monitored her spending, her trips, watched in the shadows as a woman I had loved funneled money into secret accounts, bought lavish gifts for a man I'd never heard of, Daniel, a name that quickly became very familiar. She coached my children to call him Uncle Danny. Sweet, right? A convenient replacement for me. Polished, smiling, devoid of history, of hardship, a man with clean shoes and dirty hands. She rewrote her will, left everything to our children, but under Daniel's guardianship. The plan was flawless. Replace the husband, keep the wealth. They thought I was blind. They confused my silence for ignorance. So I smiled through Christmas, bought gifts, kissed her forehead, called my children every Sunday like nothing had changed. All the while, I was quietly moving assets offshore. I rewrote my will, sold my company, discreetly, through a shell corporation, to a longtime rival she despised. A personal touch. Then I called my lawyer. We created documents that waited in silence, ticking like time bombs. I recorded conversations, saved emails, screenshots. I even found the draft for the divorce petition she never had the courage to send, waiting for just the right moment. Apparently, my birthday was going to be that moment, so I let her have it. When she didn't show up that evening, I didn't feel hurt. I felt ready. The woman who sat across from me in the restaurant was named Elise, corporate fraud investigator. former FBI. She slid a thick folder under the table, tab highlighted, neatly indexed. Inside, evidence of offshore transfers, secret loans, coordinated attempts to bankrupt me from within. Elise had traced the collusion between my wife and Daniel back to its roots. Email surveillance footage, financial trails. They'd even tried to paint me as unstable. Early onset dementia, whispered to the board, suggested to family friends. Elise had recordings. Ready to go public? She asked. I nodded. Calm, clear. 3 days later, I invited everyone to dinner. A formal affair, elegant, dressed to impress. They thought it was a birthday do-over. My wife wore red. Once, it was my favorite color on her. She kissed my cheek like everything was normal. We gathered around the table. Wine was poured. Small talk buzzed. I waited until the meal was served. Then I stood, lifted a glass, and handed each of them a manila envelope. Your gift, I said. They blinked, confused, then opened the folders. Inside, bank statements, photographs, transcripts, legal notices. You wanted to surprise me on my birthday, I said. So I returned the favor. My wife's mouth opened. I didn't let her speak. You're locked out of every account. The house is no longer in your name. And Daniel? The IRS paid him a visit this morning. The room fell into a stunned silence. My daughter began to cry. My son stared in disbelief. My wife looked at me as if I were a stranger. She had never really seen me, not truly. The fallout was immediate. She was arrested and charged with conspiracy and financial fraud. Daniel tried to flee. Interpol flagged him. As for my children, I gave them a choice, restitution or exile. They chose exile, and I let them go. I never looked back. Today, I live in a smaller home. Simpler, quieter, but honest. No one's waiting at the table. No one leans in with empty words for a piece of my wealth. But when I close my eyes at night, I rest easy, because justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives with precision. And revenge is best served on the day they thought they had won. My birthday, the day they planned to erase me. Instead, it became the day I erased them.